Welcome back to CPAC here, 2022, and for the basis of us being centered in the state of Florida, we decided to speak to somebody who's running for the state of Florida. I got Brady Duke, who's running for the 7th Congressional District of Florida, and I'm really interested in this one because of a couple factors, one being the vacated seat of a semi-prominent Democrat who's been there for, what, four terms, I think?
3 terms, yeah.
3 terms, okay. And on top of that, basically, we're looking at a case of redistricting where the 7th Congressional District has been reconfigured, and now it's kind of led to a wild house in the GOP side. How are you dealing with that so far?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Things are definitely picking up pace, and now that she's announced that she's not running for re-election, people are definitely piling into this race for sure. I think we're up to over 10 on the GOP side.
Oh, it's growing even more.
Yeah, it's growing, so.
The amazing thing is, though, this was looked at as a Democrat district, but with this much heat, it's really going to flip the GOP, it seems like, with all of these competitors. What are you doing to distinguish yourself? Because you're a Central Florida native, are you not?
I am. I'm a Central Florida native. I grew up in Kissimmee, Florida. So this is home for me. And I was in the SEAL teams for 10 years, so I fought for this country in that capacity. I was a sniper and a breacher. And I'm married. I've got 5 kids, which is definitely something that stands me out from the crowd. I definitely believe in family and know that if the family's not healthy, the nation's not healthy.
Sniper and a preacher.
Yeah.
That's a dichotomy right there. I love that. So are you looking forward by running on a basis of Florida issues or national issues? Because there's so much influx. Florida's a red state for the most part and getting redder. Are you looking at a national platform or more localized?
I'm looking at a little bit of both. I think, we have to be relevant to the local voters. That's who I'm called to represent, in this race. And so, people are really upset with what's going on with the manatee population in Florida. We have manatees dying at an astronomical rate. They're an endangered species here. They're a protected species. So there's a lot that needs to be done to ensure that we're protecting that population. And, the national issues, I am all for. We need to secure the border. We need to stop increasing tax hikes. We need to defend the most innocent and the unborn. And I think, I'm all for term limits. And if that takes an amendment of some kind, I think we need to establish that, because I know that our founders had said if this position of honor ever became a position of profit, that our country would be at stake. And a lot of people are seeing that and are upset by the career politician, and that's just not who I am. So
that's an interesting issue itself, because it used to be hot going back a generation ago, and you haven't really heard a lot of term limits talk in the last 5 or 10 years. So that would be one, if you could bring that back up to the fore, that would be interesting to see. Are you riding any wave off of DeSantis right now? Because what he's doing is not just great for the state of Florida, but he's showing leadership beyond our borders.
Yeah.
Case in point, his speech the other day, if you heard it, when he talked about Joe Biden importing illegal immigrants and him wanting to ship them right out to Delaware. That was, I think, the biggest applause line of his speech that day, and it just showed, again, where his leadership is driving other things in the nation. Do you have a platform in mind in that regard?
DeSantis has done a phenomenal job. I mean, I was at a local event with him recently, and he didn't say anything that I could disagree with. I mean, he is right on par with what I think that most everyone in this state wants, what a lot of people in the country want. And I think that's why he's getting the media that he's getting. And we did have a few busloads of immigrants offloaded right here in Maitland, Florida, not far from here, just a few weeks ago. And, I think he's doing a fantastic job. We have an interesting kind of similar history. He was in the Navy as well as a JAG officer. He was a JAG officer at SEAL Team 1 right around the same time I checked in there. And so there's kind of an interesting backstory to us having some similar service history as well. So I think he's a fantastic leader. He's someone that I look up to for sure in politics, absolutely.
Yeah, because where I come from is in Broward County. We were just interviewing earlier this morning about how we deal with things on basically a Democrat level politically, but also the media, and that's the biggest strength. Have you dealt with the press at all as far as anything advanced word, like knocking down your agenda in any fashion?
Not yet, because we're waiting on these lines to get finalized in the Florida race here. So because of that, the field has not been solidified. There's still a lot in flux, and I think once that gets set in place, there's definitely going to be some of that that begins once they know who their targets are, for sure.
Yeah, when you got a 10-plus field going on, it's going to be basically you got to elbow your way into the press right now, and then sooner or later you're probably going to say, leave us alone. No media is bad media when it comes to elections. I know that much. We're basically looking at a situation where we almost have a president who's hostile to our state.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people I speak to say that in Washington, the GOP is they're soft pedaling a lot more than they should. Is there a way that we can bring any kind of political toughness to that arena, in your mind?
I think you can't moderate truth. Truth is something that we all discover. And I think if we all simply hold to the truth and let the truth be known, you can't argue with it either. You can make the claims of these are the freedom principles that our country was founded upon, and we're never going to sway on that. We're not going to negotiate those things either. I think we are seeing this in our country in some ways because maybe we as conservatives have been too quiet for too long, assuming, hey, everything's going to be fine. And now it really is. We're in a time where we have to be, what Glenn Beck said last night on the stage was, we need to be the lion. He was talking of Christ, and he said, the lion and the lamb. He said, it's time for us as conservatives to be the lion and fight and raise our voices because truth will prevail. We just have to be consistently projecting and proclaiming that message of truth.
Got to have that.
Yeah.
And that's been somewhat lacking in our leadership for some reason. They seem to be hesitant to take that mantle.
Yeah.
And it's, we've got the advantage right now, in my opinion. Because in covering the media, I see how the press folds stories in a certain way that tells you they're losing grip. Even though they're the party in power, the Democrats, they're not leading. Yeah. And that's what we need is leadership. So
and I think we have the advantage because we are the party of truth. I will say that confidently. We are the party of truth. So
now we just got to use that with momentum going forward. So I'll just say very good luck.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to watching it too. So I'm going to keep an eye on the 7th. I'm very interested to see this get flipped from blue to red here in Florida and deep in the state. So thanks very much for coming out.
Thank you very much, Brad.
We'll see you folks soon.